Hey guys, welcome back to the shop for another week of Saturday Night Special. I want to start off by thanking WD-40 Specialist for being a part of and sponsoring this episode. And this week I got a few things to share with you. We're going to start off by showing a couple of new tools that I got for the shop. You guys know how I love my tap wrenches and I love collecting those. Well, I got two more for the shop here, and I can't wait to share them with you. We got two more that are really spectacular, so we're going to get to those and share those with you. And then we're going to go down there to the G&E shaper and get to a little bit of the periodic machinery maintenance with the help of WD-40 Specialist. So we'll get to that, and then we also have a hydraulic cylinder in the shop that we need to do some repairs on as well. All right, so that's going to be the content for this episode, and let's jump right to it, okay? So these are the new tools for the shop right here. You guys might know that I love my tap wrenches, and these are some of my favorite tap wrenches that you can collect. And so what we got here is the ultimate Greenfield tap and die number 24. These are extremely hard to find, and I was lucky enough to find this one. And I've got one of these that are original to my shop, and the only other person that I know of that's been lucky enough to find one of these is Tom Lipton out there at Ox Tool. But I was able to find this one and the number 22 as a pair. So here's the number 22, and show them this right here. This is pretty cool. So that says USNM. What's the number? It looks like maybe it says 158.
158, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that signifies. Maybe somebody out there might be able to know, but it's in beautiful shape. So this original length is 54 inches end to end for the number 22. All right, and the number 24, the original stock length is 72 inches end to end. And these are the original handles. And so a lot of people want to know, what size tap these will hold. So the 22 will go up to a 2.5 inch size tap. That's bolt size, and it'll handle up to a 2.5 inch tap. NPT tap as well. So the 24 will go up to a 4-inch bolt size, regular bolt tap. NPT, I can't remember offhand what size NPT tap it'll take. But I just love these things. They are just awesome. And I think what we're gonna have to do, I share this stuff on Instagram. I always love sharing this stuff. You guys need to follow me on Instagram because you'll get a sneak peek at this kind of stuff whenever I get it. But a lot of people want to see what kind of tap these things are used for. And I have a couple taps out there that these would be used for. So we're gonna have to pull one out and actually show it one day. What do you think?
I think you should.
We'll have to do that. So keep watching, and we'll pull one of those big boy taps out, and we'll put the 24 on it one day. All right. So just another great score for the shop. Another set of good tools for the collection here.
You look so happy.
I am. Hey guys, so today I want to get over on the shaper and start cutting in a plate. But before I do that, I want to go ahead and get to a little bit of shaper maintenance. So we've got some grease points on the machine, and it's about time that I get to the greasing, which I usually do a couple times a year. So we're going to go ahead and do that today. So WD-40 Specialist sent me out there true multi-purpose grease, and I'm going to use this stuff around the shop right here. And I believe that this is an excellent grease to use for the machinery around here in my shop. So it is a true multi-purpose grease, and it says right here it's great for extreme pressures, high temperature. This one's got a drop point at 650 degrees. It's marked right there on the back of the tube here. It's great for marine applications as well, and it's got long-lasting performance. It says it's got a mixture of the WD-40 for exceptional lubrication and maximum rust and corrosion protection. So it's great for high temperature, high moisture, and heavy load applications. This is good for all types of applications. We're going to go ahead and put this stuff to use. I went ahead and picked me up a brand new grease gun I've got an old grease gun it's just an old grease gun, and you never know what's in the grease gun, right? You stick it in there, and years later, you don't know what's in there. So I picked this one up from McMaster-Carr. I liked it because it's got the clear tube. So we'll be able to put this in there, and I'll always know, exactly the grease that is in there. So we're going to go ahead and load this up, and we'll go over there to the shaper, and we will start getting it greased up. And while we're at it, I want to go over to the do-all mill, and we're going to go ahead. We've got a grease point on the knee as well for the elevation screw, and we're going to go ahead and grease that as well. Okay. All right, I think we are ready to go. All right, I was just getting it primed up here, making sure that we got grease coming out the end. So this is looking at the big motor on the back of the shaper there, and we've got a grease fitting on both sides of the motor there, one for each bearing or the end bell. So we'll just grease each side. So in addition to the electric motor on the side of the G&E shaper on the feed side, we've also got two more grease points. So one's going to be right here. This is for the arm that works the automatic feed. So we got a grease point right here, and we got a grease point right here that helps run the elevation screw. So we'll go ahead and start with this one here. Go ahead and move that handle off out of the way there. As I mentioned earlier, we were going to come over here to the do-all mill and grease the grease point here on the elevation screw underneath the knee. So this is it right here. This is the grease fitting. So this is going to grease the screw and the nut here, and this is what lubricates these two components right there. So this is an important part to remember with your periodic maintenance. Something that you want to do maybe a couple times a year. See it coming up out of there. Not going to take a whole lot, but I just want to make sure that we've got some fresh grease in there. I'm just working the knee crank here. Get some of that fresh grease going in there. All right, here we go. You guys that are running these old horizontal mills like me, you may have a vertical head or some kind of vertical attachment. If you'll check them, they'll probably have a grease zerk on here as well, like me. I've got 3 grease points, so I usually grease those every so often. I'm going to wait till I come over here and actually run this machine and use it, and I'm going to pump some fresh grease in there. My old Quinn City pedestal grinder is another good example there. The bearings are equipped with grease zerks up here, so this is another point, grease point, that I'll come over here and grease on this unit here as well. For some of you tech savvy guys, it's pretty easy to set you up a schedule on your computer that you can easily look at, you know, and kind of give you a rundown of when you need to do different maintenance procedures, such as, you know, grease and oil changes on your machinery and things like that. Another easy thing that you can do is just simply use your phone. In my case, you know, I could do something like this. Hey Siri, remind me in 6 months to grease the shaper motor.
Okay, I added grease the shaper motor to your reminders.
All right, so it's got it for November the 18th, 2019 to grease the shaper motor there. And I'll get a reminder. That way I don't have to remember it. I don't have it wrote down somewhere that I'm going to get lost. But that's just a little tip right there. You can do that for all your machines and put that right there on your phone to remind you, because a lot of these grease points don't need to be done but maybe once or twice a year. Some of these other locations, you know, such as this little gearbox, you know, you can do several times throughout the year. Each machine may be a little bit different. But so let's go ahead and start making some cuts over here. Got us a little hottie in the shop today. This hydraulic cylinder right here belongs to my stepdad, Fernando. It goes on a bush hog, I believe he said. I know he said bush hog, but it has to do with one of the tractors that he has there. He's got a few of them. And I've helped him in the past. We did some Kubota cylinders. I've showed that on the channel, just simply rebuilding it, you know, putting new seals in there, new seals, wipers. And he needed some help with this. He said it's leaking, so evidently it's just a rod seal. So I'm going to help him get this one apart and get it fixed up. I'm going to see if we can get it apart and find some seals locally and get this back together, because he's wanting to try to use this bush hog over the weekend. And actually tomorrow is Friday, and I just got back from my trip, and as soon as I got back he brought this to me, so I'm going to see if I can rush through and get this thing fixed up for him at least by tomorrow. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this apart. I do believe that this is the style that's got the retaining ring in here. You can see this little notch. Let me bring the camera down here and show you. All right, see this notch cut in here? I believe what this style is that there's this is a groove machined inside the tube, and then there's a groove machined in the gland also right there that line up, and then there's a steel ring that is pulled in there. So you turn the gland, where this is the seal gland, so you spin it in there, and it actually twists that square ring in there, and that's what retains it, keeps it from moving. So to get it apart, you simply spin it the opposite direction, and this ring should come out of this slot right there. And sometimes they're difficult to remove, and sometimes they're not. I'm going to probably spray we're going to spray some penetrating oil in there to try to get a little bit of, you know, try to help it loosen it up a little bit. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to put a little bit of work on the recently cleaned up reed. All right, I want the groove sort of up to the top there, so make the vise do a little work. These 8-inch vices really hold well. Not over squeezing it, but I got enough there that it's going to hold it well without moving it around. See that? And you can just see right there, I've already drained the oil, by the way. That's the first thing you do, is drain all the oil out, because you don't want to mess all over your shop. But that right there tells you just how wore out the seals are. We put some of our CRC knocker loose down in there. Now I got my pan down there just for that right there, just for any drippage, and when we get this apart, hopefully won't have any problems. Get it apart, we're going to have a little bit of oil try to drip out of here. All right, here's the two spanners I have. And I think that one's too big right there. That one I think is going to work real good. Penetrating oil is going down in there. So let's see if we can get this thing to move. Oh yeah. Okay, good. Good deal. So I'm trying to get you a good shot there. All right, right there it looks like that's the end. I think that is the end of the ring. So we need to try to get that to come out as we spin that. And I think we have the perfect tool. Let me go grab it. Let's try out the Duresta ice pick for this right here. Let's see if it's going to work. All right, yeah, so it's just got some grease on the end. What you want, you just got, usually you can use like a little flathead screwdriver. And I'm gonna put a little bit more right there just to kind of break this crud up. Trying to get it to just slide up that ice pick as we go around with it. There we go. That's it right there. Let me get a picture. Alrighty, I got my picture to share with Jimmy there. Alright. And I'm glad this is spinning out. I have worked on some of these where all this was just rusted and growed together. Just spin it around until, there you go, right there, until you can pull that out. So this end of the retaining ring is usually bent over. Sometimes these break off, and all you really have to do then is just bend that back over if it breaks off and just reuse it again. But these are, you can buy these. These are replaceable with your Hercules or anywhere you buy hydraulic parts. And that's it, okay? So that's all that holds this gland in. So from this point, we can go ahead and just kind of pull the rod out. I'll just, since you're in there close, we'll go ahead and do this. All right, let me get a rag so I don't shoot hydraulic oil out of this fitting this way. I'm just gonna muffle it with a rag right there. And you can just kind of bump this gland out, really is that's what I was gonna try to do. You can see it's kind of trying to come out of there. All right, I think we're gonna walk it out. Come on, baby. There's that oil that I was telling you about. So here's the gland. The gland is now out, okay? Now all we have left in there is the piston. So we should be able to just walk this out. And that seal is trying to catch that groove that's machined in that tube right there. There it is. And it's a PTFE seal. So you got a PTFE seal with a rubber expander underneath it. So we'll go ahead and plan on replacing all of them. And we'll clean that bore out and look at it, make sure it's good, but it's probably just gonna be the seals that's bad. So let's go ahead and finish getting all this apart here. Maybe you can see that, try to get you a little reflection, but the barrel looks beautiful, nothing wrong with it. I do not have a hone to hone that out anyway. If it did need to be honed, it'd have to go to a hydraulic shop, but I don't have one, so it looks fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but I am just going to wash it out and clean it out of there. You can see it's dirty. So the inside there where the piston seal is looks fine though. Just going to use my 24-inch crescent to break this piston nut loose. It's just kind of stuck on there. I need to get a soft blow. All right, there's our O-ring. The O-ring is what seals the piston. They got a chamfer or a bevel cut behind the piston right there. That's what seals the oil from coming underneath the piston. And then now we have our gland, and this is actually the root of the problem in here. So this is going to be our wiper out here, and then our rod seal is inside there. It's not breaking apart, but I can tell that it's completely just flattened out. So they're all just, you know, what we call age-related failure. So they've reached their life expectancy and are starting to fail. So we'll just need to pull all these apart and identify the seals and see where we can replace them. That's your tube seal. That's what seals the hydraulic pressure from the tube and the gland there. That's what keeps the oil from coming through this area of the gland. All it is an O-ring and a backup. Let's see if we can get our seal out of here. There we go. There's our rod seal. I'll have to just measure the grooves out. There might be something identifying on here, but most likely it's not going to help me. It is a loaded seal, I can tell that. There's a little tiny O-ring in the face right here where the pressure is pushing against, and a loaded seal, they push an O-ring against that face, and that applies a lot of pressure to both of the sealing lips there. All right, and then so the last one we got right there is the wiper, and I can't tell if that's a press-in, a metal clad, or if it's a snap-in wiper, but we're going to use our nifty little Duresta tool here and clean out the crud and kind of figure out what we got. All right, I had to get a little bit more help with the WIA screwdriver there. It's definitely a metal clad wiper, and you can see it there. I finally got back behind it. There it is. So what that is a press-in. It's a press-in wiper. So that's what they call a metal-clad wiper. All right, just got a little bit right there where you just have to clean that up a little bit. I'll clean that up in the lathe, get rid of that little burr that I put on it. That's all it is. So this is designed to press in there just like a seal would. So there we go. Now I just need to identify the seals, the groove sizes. I'm going to look in my Hercules book and figure out what size seals that we need. All right, quick update. So I've gone through and I've measured everything, and I've got all my seals figured out, and I've got all of my part numbers written down right there. So we've got our piston seal, we got our rod seal, and what I've done is I went through the book and I wrote down the options for what my options on what I could put in there. So we have two separate P seals and we have a U seal for the rod seal, and that's so that whenever I call up the places tomorrow, I have options in case, say, we don't have this part number, but they may have one of those. So, you know, any of those is going to be the same seal that will fit in that groove, okay? And then we have the O-ring for the gland. That's the backup. So it's a 137. So this is a dash 137 O-ring, and then the backup is always either a 574 or 575. Actually, this one, now that I'm looking at it closer, this is a 574 backup. I just wrote down 575, but either one will work. So we got those wrote down there. And then we got our O-ring for the piston right there. And it's I figured it being an 018, but I also wrote a 1 series there. It could be that. And then we've got our rod wiper, which is going to be an MCU 1500-D. That's this metal clad rod wiper right there. And that's the only one in the book that'll fit right there. So hopefully somebody's going to have this rod wiper. So good old Pensacola rubber and gasket had all the seals that I need. Went over there first thing this morning, and Randy over there hooked me up, and they had everything that I need. And as I was saying, you know, some of the seals may be different than what was in the cylinder, but it doesn't matter. As long as you have a seal that fits the right size, it's going to work. So like this is going to be the rod seal right here. This is what was in there. This is a loaded seal right there, and this is what he has in stock. It's the same dimensions, this is different type of seal. So this is more of a symmetrical U seal, but designed for the same exact application right there. And of course we got our new O-ring. This is the metal clad wiper, an MCU wiper. All right, and then we got our O-ring for our piston right there. That's the old one. That's the old one. This is the new one. And then this is our piston seal right there, and then this is our new, this is going to be our new piston seal right there. So the only difference between the two is this is the bronze type seal right here, and then this is the nylon type. That's the only difference between the two. All right, same size, same dimension, everything. So that's just the difference. So there we go. I'm going to go ahead and start loading this stuff up. All right, let's start putting the new seals back on here. I've already got this polished up. We went over to the lathe, put a nice little chamfer out here for the wiper, polished this up. So we'll start with our seal right there, and we're going to use our, we'll go to our Kit King, the seal twister set we have, and let's use the smallest tool right there. We'll make sure that the sealing lips are facing this direction. That helps get you into the groove there, and then you can just snap it in. Just like so. So that's our new rod seal. Making sure that the radius is facing the O-ring. That is the 574. 575 does not have a radius on that. And I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit of grease on this O-ring. That just helps with the install. By the way, I'm just using this red Staplex grease from CRC. This is what I always use on the seals. It's good stuff. It's compatible with hydraulic oil as well. And we'll put a little bit more on that whenever we do the install. So we're nearly there. All we got left to do now on this is to install the wiper, which is a press in. So what we'll do, we can certainly tap that in. We'll go ahead and get it started there. How about we go to our date press and actually use that to press this in. We'll use our new press here to do this light job. Just making sure that the bottom of the ram is clean. is to it. No fuss doing it with the press there. Perfect job. All right, let's go ahead and install our piston seal. This is just an O-ring that goes underneath it. Acts as a rubber expander. And then this is the seal here. Put a little bit more of the grease on there to help everything just kind of slide together. There it is. Might not have got that on video. Hooked one side into the groove and just used my thumbs to work it around, and it snapped right in place right there. That actually is better to me personally than the PTFE style, because those stretch and then they stay stretched, and you got to use one of those compression tools to clamp around the piston seal to kind of contract it back into shape. So there we go. Now we're ready to put this thing all back together. There's our O-ring that's going to go onto the rod right there. It's going to seal that. All we need to do is just we're just going to put a little bit of grease on the inside of the gland right here. Grease up the seal just a little bit. I put the gland on first. Got a good feel to it with those new seals. I've already installed the new O-ring there for the piston. Still got some 242 thread locker, so that's what I'll use on this right here. Doesn't take a lot, so just put a little drop on there. Just wanted to finish washing out the barrel there. Got my cleaner and my spray can and my bucket down here so we can drain this out. So that'll spray in there pretty good, you see. We got the piston greased up. And I'm using some anti-seize up here on the gland, and I'm going to anti-seize the retaining ring as well, just to try to help with any kind of water and corrosion that gets in there and rusts it over time, because this is a cylinder that sits outside, and this particular one doesn't actually have an O-ring in there that helps prevent the moisture from getting down inside of it. All right, just like that. And so what we'll do is just go ahead and we will spin the gland around until I find the hole. Keep it pushed in. All right, we got the hole right there at the top, and that's going to be the hole that the end of the retainer there is going to fit in, like so. Just like that, and then we'll finish spinning it in there. But I want to go ahead and coat this down with a little bit of anti-seize. We're using this right here. Another reason I use my gloves there, so we'll just put some on there, coat it down. Backed up just a little bit here for you. So you can see our groove in there, and then there's our hole. All right, so we're going to take our ring, stick it in there. It catches, and then just go ahead and takes a little bit of resistance there and a little bit of pull. So, and we're just spin it in there, nice and easy. All right, so there's the end. So what I like to do is just go ahead and just rotate it on around. Just like that. And we are done. Besides just pushing it in. Yep, we got a good feel there. You know, these hydraulic cylinders, they come in a lot of different variations in how they're manufactured and how they're assembled and, you know, put together and how they come apart. And I've just been lucky and fortunate that the ones that I've done on here on the channel have been fairly easy and simple and have come apart and haven't given me any issues. And, you know, I've gotten several of them in my career when I had to work on these a lot every day, that there were some that, you know, I actually had to machine and cut these things apart just because they were so rough. But that's usually with heavy industry, stuff that comes from, you know, heavy industry such as paper mills and things like that. But sometimes you don't see that kind of extreme service when it comes to a tractor or bush hogs like this. But maybe this will help you out. You know, there's a lot of guys out there at home that have tractors that have cylinders just like this, that you can do this yourself. You need a few simple tools in your box, like different size spanner wrenches like this, you know, hook spanners, face spanners, and then being able to get these things apart and being able to identify the seals. A lot of times you can just take your seals, and if you have a local place like here in town, we have Pensacola Rubber and Gasket. Now, a lot of times you can go to a place like that specializes in hydraulics, and they can help you identify the seals and get them ordered for you. And a lot of times they might have them in stock there. But since I have, you know, experience with them, I know how to measure them up. I know how to identify them in the book. So I go there with the part numbers, and he knew exactly. I gave him the part numbers, and he just went right to his parts bin and pulled them right out of there. But anyway, I'm just trying to help some of you guys out there on the farm or the homestead that might want to try to rebuild some of these yourself. Okay?